Hey everybody, welcome back. Joining us here at Physio Room. Again, I'm Dr. Andrew, and we're going through our Ready to Run checklist. Today, what we're going to look at is the mobility in our spine. Okay, so a lot of people don't consider or don't think about the fact that when we run, it's not just a straight ahead, forward and back kind of movement, right? I should say like a forward movement. Most of us aren't running backwards. But there's also this rotational component that we have to consider when we're running, especially if you're running with a good arm swing. There needs to be a little bit of rotation that happens in our spine. Okay, so how do you know? How do you know if you can rotate well one direction compared to the other? And the test we're going to go over first kind of looks at more of the lumbar spine or the lower back to see if you can rotate there. But then I'm going to show you another tip that, that we can evaluate or assess the mobility in our thoracic spine, or that middle portion of our spine that goes all throughout the rib cage. Anything between your lower back and your neck. Okay, that's the thoracic spine. So what I want you to do first, we're just going to take a real brief, gross overlook of our rotation ability. I want you to put your feet together, and then really you can have your arms wherever you want. I'm going to take mine and put them across my chest, but I'm not going to like hold myself back. And then what I want you to do without moving your feet is I want you to turn and look over your right shoulder as far as you can go. Okay, so turn as far as you can, and then come back to the middle. So just take sort of like a mental assessment of how far did you turn, how did that feel going to the right, and how far do you think you were able to get so that you can quantify that. And then we're going to do the same thing to the left. Okay, so now we're going to turn to the left as far as you can without moving the feet. Okay, come back to the center. So I basically just want you to feel for yourself or determine for yourself, did it feel equal going to the right and going to the left, or did one side feel a little different than the other? I felt a little different. I'll watch the video here in a little bit to see if in fact it was further one way than the other, but it felt a little bit better to my right. Okay, so that looks at more of our lumbar spine or the lower back. I brought this yoga mat in here, so I'm going to kneel on the ground and show you guys another way that you can look at your spinal rotation. And this is a great warm-up exercise that I recommend to almost all of our runners that we see here in the clinic. And what we're going to do, we're going to get down on our hands and our knees, okay? And you're going to put your hands down directly underneath your shoulder, knees directly underneath the hips so that your arms and your thighs are vertical, okay? And you can choose to either have your toes tucked up underneath you or your feet flat, whatever is more comfortable for you. And I'll demonstrate a couple of these facing sideways, but what I want you to do is take one hand and place it behind your head, but please don't pull on your neck. I don't want you to crank on your neck. What I do want you to do is rotate down with your shoulder and your elbow towards the wrist or towards the hand, and then turn and open up and look up towards the ceiling and see how far you can comfortably go without forcing it. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple of those, because since we're already down here, we might as well get a little use out of it and take advantage of this mobility exercise. So now I want you to do the other side. So place the other hand behind the head. Again, don't pull, rotate down, and turn and look up to the ceiling. See how it feels. Okay, and like I said, while you're down here, just get a couple of those in. So those two things would be quick ways to assess. Do you have adequate spinal rotation? Like, do you feel really limited one way than the other? Really, you want to be able to turn to look pretty much all the way behind you when you're standing. And then you want to try, when you're in this kneeling position or hands and knees position, to get as much up to vertical, elbow towards the ceiling as possible without really cranking on your shoulder. Okay, now, a lot of our runners are not warming up at home, right? We are driving to a location. Maybe you're doing a trail run. Maybe you're running at the Highline Canal or something here in Denver by us, and you aren't wanting to get down on the floor, right? You don't want to kneel on the parking lot cement and do this spinal rotation exercise. So I want to show you a quick modification that I like to do when I am going out to run, is I will take my arm or my elbow and I'll put it here inside my knee, and then I'll take the other hand, still put it behind my head, and then I'll just rotate up like this. So it feels relatively similar to one that we just did, but because we are in a little different position, you might feel like your movement is just a little different. But that's a great alternative that you can use when you're out and about, not in a place where you can comfortably kneel down or get in hands and knees position on the floor, okay? So again, this video, we're looking at the spine mobility that you have. Is it equal one side to the other? And do you have enough for that we would call you adequate to be running, or that your spinal mobility checks you off as ready to run, okay? So stay tuned for more of these videos, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks so much.